project artist, so I've been collaborating with the engineering firm and its engineers and landscape architects, and also with Public Works on artwork for the entirety of the Pacific Avenue Streetscape. And that's been both permanent artwork, temporary artwork, and then some spaces in between. One of the major impetuses for the project is water quality. Tacoma has a lot of hills, and the water that flows off the streets upstream of Pacific Avenue needs cleansing in a variety of different ways before it reaches the Theophilus waterway. A key feature of the streetscape is a series of rain gardens which are part of that stormwater cleansing process. I've been involved from a very early date in collaborating with the city on what the challenges are to accomplish such a huge project in the middle of a downtown that needs to continue to function. What we were really looking at is how to keep Pacific Avenue interesting and vital during construction, and how to honor that construction, to support construction and bring attention to it as well. It was a combination of looking for something that would help unite, be some kind of continuity across 10 city blocks. What would your experience be walking down Pacific Avenue, and how would you have a sense that there's something else up ahead? You've seen this is an interesting whatever it is, then you see something else. How would you be drawn down the street, whether or not you knew that street? One of the really interesting phenomena that happens that nobody believes until they experience it is the green flash. And it's an optical phenomenon that happens only under certain atmospheric conditions. A little bit of haze doesn't hurt. Just as the sun appears to set into the water. When you experience it, you also don't believe you've seen it because it's so brief and ephemeral. And I started to think about that experience and the fact that this is Pacific Avenue. It does not overlook the Pacific Ocean, but the city of Tacoma really aspires to work actively across the Pacific, both from a cultural standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and so we are in the Pacific. I was thinking about how one drives or walks down a street and what you see ahead of you, and also what you see just out of the corner of your eye. Your peripheral vision is really important in this idea. So we have designed collectively some flashes of green that are intermittent, that are associated with the rain gardens, that you will see and not see. It'll be surprising. They're not at the same rhythm at every point that they occur along the streetscape. And there'll also be some fanciful plant materials in concrete that will have a variety of different shades of green, and these are an attachment back to the plant materials that are going to show up in the rain gardens, that are already showing up in the rain gardens. The very enigmatic green duct tape creations along the street, I think, are exactly, they're a perfect companion to that idea. They're the embodiment of the idea of your peripheral vision and how you use your peripheral vision. What do you notice? How does it change? Some of the pieces I've really been attracted to have to do with messing with the perspective that exists in the landscape.
The perspective from far away, like say from across the street, you'd only be seeing the vertical surfaces of the staircase basically become just one two-dimensional plane, even though it had great depth. I just kind of realized that it was very perspective driven, and you could only see any solid shape from one real point of view. And so yeah, making like a three-dimensional shape on staircase that then from across the street looks like a three-dimensional shape drawn on a two-dimensional wall, it was really kind of challenging. And I think that's the whole point, is changing like people's perspectives. If there were 50 people standing around in the streets looking at it, it would look different to every single person. concept of the tape in itself is a temporary way to basically draw or mark the area with these sacred or timeless geometric symbols. And the symbols transcend normal barriers of people's class or nationality or language and really kind of speak to everybody on a basic level. Deciding to do the piece sometimes anonymously kind of keyed into that same anonymous language of the work, that it could really be anybody inside, and it also made it more of a bit of a spectacle, tying in with the green flash concept of something's just happening all of a sudden and then it's gone.
How do you feel about things going away?
You know, they don't have to last forever, and sometimes the fact that it might appear one day and then kind of disintegrate and break apart the next, I kind of enjoy that as a process of life and a process of creation. Typically they just kind of disappear. They slowly dissolve, and people, I think maybe people kind of pick at them, or they'll just kind of get worn down. Sometimes they'll just disappear overnight because somebody might decide they don't like it and they just remove it. They have just as much right to do that as I do, even though, in my opinion, that's a destructive act instead of a creative one. I hope that even after the lines are gone, that people still look at spaces in a little bit different way of, you know, something used to be there, something could be there. I hope that that is happening.
Each block along Pacific Avenue has a very unique character. In the historic district, that kind of crossing of the street is really peaceful, and it seems like it's a completely different city from the crossing that takes place where the University of Washington, Tacoma Art Museum, Tollefson Plaza intersect with each other. So thinking about how that theater can be respected and enhanced also during construction. What kind of theater keeps people crossing the street and talking to each other, talking with each other? What kinds of conversations happen that may continue to happen after construction with more permanent work that is either an echo of or a companion to the temporary work that's taking place during construction?